Good morning, people. Urban Sentinel. This video, escape and evasion in the city. Now, again, for people that are in the way out suburbs and the rural areas, I'm not excluding you, but I'm focused primarily on people that live in larger cities and metropolitan areas where, people are shoulder to shoulder, nut to butt, that sort of thing. For people that live in cities, population densities ranging anywhere from 50,000 in your town, going up to 200,000 to a million in your area, whatever the case may be. You have to realize at a certain point, even the most unaware people are going to realize that they will need to get out. Sometimes collectively, that's all at once. Sometimes that's building up quickly over 1 or 2, 3 days. And I've had conversations with people over the years that, oh, when, this happens, I'm going to go out and head up to that cabin that I go to once in a while for vacation. Or when this happens, I'm just going to, get out onto the highway and go. And I hear that from them and I laugh sometimes out loud because they don't take into account that on a normal day, a normal Monday, you can't get from point A to point B on most of the major roads and highways without regular day in and day out traffic. You're going at a snail's pace as you move along mile by mile, let alone when a disaster happens and you find out about it along with everyone else, whether it be 100,000 people around you or a million people around you. They're all going to have that same idea that we need to leave from where we're at and go somewhere else. So they're all going to be on the highways, they're all going to be on the roads, they're all going to have that same idea of, oh, let's go to this campground here, or let's go to this town over here, or let's go to the other side of the river to this area over here. They'll all have the same idea. They'll all have the same plan, and they'll all be right in front of you, next to you, and behind you as you sit on the highway and those major roads doing just that. If you are in a situation, a full shtf situation, something that is not localized, again, there's a distinct difference between being in an area where a hurricane is going to be coming through, and hurricanes are to one extent an shtf situation, same as a blizzard coming through, those sorts of things, but those are environmental and they're still localized. They can cause significant damage and create a lot of panic, but they still are localized within an area. This is the ultimate of ultimates, the full prepper scenario of the end of the world as we know it, where something is going to happen and you have to leave an entire region, or the grid has been shut down because of an EMP going off and everything is completely upside down, but where you're at is now a dumpster fire and you need to escape from there. That's what this is about. It's about moving on and moving out through the urban environment that you're going to be surrounded by. First off, have a plan. Plain and simple. Have a plan. Logically think about it with rational thought process. Point A, point B. Where am I at? Where am I going to go? How am I going to get there? What's my primary objective? What's my secondary objective? What's my backup to those objectives should they not come through? And you're going to be going down a long list. It's going to look like a flow chart because you're going to start up at the top and move down, and then you're going to see each thing has a secondary, a third, and a fourth item going out from there, and you're going to be mapping it all out, but it's going to be necessary. When you have your plan, you have to have the conditions to which you're going to enact it. It just simply can't be every little bump in the night and you take off running. You have to have a definitive key factors of certain things that say, okay, if this and this occur, I'll get ready. If this then happens, then I'll do this. But if this doesn't happen, or if this doesn't happen for X, Y, and Z amount of time, then I'll dial it back in and wait to see what goes on. So you have to have your own personal parameters about when you're actually going to bug out if you're going to leave, or when you're going to batten down the hatches and basically hunker down and stay where you're at. You have to understand, for your own plan to work, you have to effectively stick with it, but you have to know what those conditions are and when you're going to do it. Walk it out, do a dry run. Some cases it may not be immediately possible, and to a certain extent it may not be practical, but if your plan is to go from where you're at in one state 5 states away to a family farm or something like that, or some other relative who is all set up and ready for those conditions, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to see what the drive is. You're going to have to see all of the side roads. You're going to have to take the long way there, because the most immediate and quick way, most likely in those situations, you're going to have traffic, you're going to have roadblocks, you're going to have accidents, you're going to have things that are going to slow you down and going to cause you to divert anyway. So you need to plan on taking the longest way there, getting out and seeing how long that's going to take you, seeing what's around you in the surrounding environment, because it may not be a 10-hour drive if it normally is. It might be a 12, 18, 24-hour drive. It may take you 3 or 4 days because of those conditions to get from where you're at to where you want to be. So you have to be able to plan all those things out. And if you're in a vehicle, what happens once you've run out of the fuel that you have in the vehicle and any of the fuel you brought with you, and fuel is unavailable, or it's so expensive that even if you have money, have cash, you just can't afford it. And you have to start thinking, do I leave the vehicle, everything that I brought with it? What am I going to do? So again, these are all part of your plans that you have to work out. If you're staying more local, if you're staying within your own city or within the urban area, and you have a network of people that you're all basically going to work together, are you all in agreement that you're going to stay where you are at unless someone basically gets burned out of their house or apartment and then they move to the next person or the next person? Or are you going to meet up at a centralized location, someplace that you all agree upon and have access to and can get to, and you're going to basically have your own camp wherever that is within or around the area? Low profile. Stay low profile. Sometimes low profile gets turned around in the prepping community, especially from the outside, as being, oh, you've got to be in all camouflage, or you've got to have all this tactical gear and the vest and all that kind of stuff. No, it's simply looking like everybody else around you. No different. Work on that look of, oh, I can't believe this is happening, because most people will have that look because they can't believe it's happening because they didn't plan for it. Look like everyone else does, move like everyone else does. The only difference is you know where you're going. You have an idea of what you're planning to do. If people are just sort of milling about, wandering around, picking through debris and rubble and all that kind of stuff because they're trying to get their head around everything that's happened over the last week or so, have that mentality, but you actually have a plan. You're playing the role. That's the key thing. You're playing the role of a person who isn't sure what's going on, and you move through the environment like that. You're going to be overlooked by and large, but you're still aware and alert. You're still looking at things. You're still knowing who's coming up from this side of the parking lot. You're still looking at people moving inside the buildings and looking out the windows over here. You still have an emergency route planned out if you're going to run this way or if you're going to run that way. You're still alert, you're still prepared, but you give the illusion that you're just like everyone else moving along, and that's the key thing. If you have to go on foot, again, you need to take what you need to take, but you need to make it look, to one extent or another, like you don't have much, or what you do have isn't worth the time and trouble, because you want to be able to slip in, slip out, and move on without drawing too much attention to you. Stash spots, rendezvous points, that sort of thing. Again, that's part of the planning, depending upon where you're at, the environment that you're in. Some places you can do it, other places you can't. You may not have enough resources that even if you wanted to hide some items and some things, you don't have enough to get you as far as you want to go, or you don't have a location that you feel is safe enough to leave what you have without risk of either not being able to get to it, or someone inadvertently, no matter how well you've hidden it, coming across it. Because in many cases, high traffic areas, people walking by certain points, in the city, going through certain parks, just the sheer volume of people increases the odds that sooner or later someone's going to stumble across it. Someone's going to see something that just catches their eye for whatever reason, and it goes from there. So you may have hidden something and you've hidden it fairly well, but over a period of time with enough people going by, the odds are that someone's going to say, hey, that looks kind of weird, or I wonder why this looks this way compared to everything else. And someone's going to start focusing on that. And, they go, oh, lucky day, look what I've just discovered. You may be in a situation where, we're in a grid down condition, and you're trying to get to one of your stash spots, but now that whole area has become a temporary encampment for a bunch of people who've been displaced. They decide, they're going to stick around this area. So now you can't go to that location because the eyes are on you. You're someone that they're already watching approaching. And so they're definitely going to watch you as you get closer to where they're at, because unfortunately they're camped near where you've hidden items, or you're near an area that they have now claimed to be theirs, and they're holding it down, and they don't want people coming into their area. So you may have to forego whatever you've had hidden. So again, it comes down to, you have to take the chance that it won't be discovered, but understand that there is a risk that you may not even be able to get to it, even if no one knows that it's there. Rendezvous points, rally points, meeting up with people, same thing. You obviously want to make it someplace where everyone can get to. You want to make it someplace that's reasonably easy to access, because you don't want it to be a difficult trek under certain conditions, but also because it may be relatively easy to get to, there are going to be people that are going to be out there. They're going to be in that area, not because they know this is a meetup spot, just simply because they might be looking for a place to rest. They might be looking for a place to hide because someone's chasing them, or they just may be passing through and they happen to be in that area right as you're getting there. So now you have to decide, do you sort of pass by and move on like, oh, I'm just walking the other way, or do you sort of mill about in the area as well and hope that you can meet up with the other people from your group? And depending upon the people that are there and the conditions that they're there, are they hostile, are they friendly, are they inquisitive, what the situation is, you need to establish that quickly and determine whether you need to vacate the area, but then somehow let your group know, because you don't want them walking up into a situation that could end up going badly. Lastly, solo or squad. Basically, are you prepping for yourself by yourself, or are you prepping for a group, whether it's the group collectively or whether it's you doing it for the group itself? Because I'm sure there are some of you out there where you're the effectively only prepper in the household, even though there might be one other person, 5 other people. You're the one that has taken on the responsibility to get this done. So then, once again, do you have things set up where when the shit hits the fan and suddenly everyone else in the household realizes that you were right, what are you going to do? You can just say, calm down, I've got this covered, and then have it able to walk them through, saying, this is what this is, use this for this, this is yours, that's yours, keep these with you, we're taking this, get this vehicle, here's the map, whatever the case may be. If you've got it all set up where basically you just get them, focus on me, listen to what I'm saying, and follow my lead, then you're all set. Or if you're working with other people where you all collectively are working together, same thing again. Do you have a communication system set up? Do you have some type of way that you all agree that when certain things go down the line, go checking off the boxes, that once that happens, everyone puts their plan into motion? And from that point forward, you all, even if you're not visually within range of each other and physically there, you all know that the other group, the other people, are all doing the parts that they're supposed to do. So timing wise, if your plan is to meet up at a certain point, you're going to be able to meet up with confidence that they will be there when they're supposed to be. And if not, you should have a plan as to, do you go looking for them, or do you wait, or do you move on to the next location? Taking all this into account is primarily for, should there be a cyber attack that shuts down the grid? Should there be an EMP or something else that shuts down the grid? Should there be a dire economics setup where the system collapses in upon itself, and you've been lucky enough to be able to survive through the weeks of rioting and looting going on, and now the general vibe of the area that you're in the city that you're in, the surrounding areas, is in a sort of level of just constant disarray, where there might be services, they might be limited, they might be under poor conditions, stressful conditions, there may or may not be active law enforcement or military, there might be martial law, or there could be no law at all. Having your plan to basically maneuver and move through the city and get out, if that's what your plan is something that you need to work on. Even if your plan is simply to just stay within the confines of your area, you still need to be able to have something set up where, if you have to leave your place temporarily, if you have to do basically a runaround, something happens and you have to get out quickly, but you plan on coming back. You know, what are you going to do? How long are you going to stay out? Where are you going to go during that short time period before you come back around and check on things? You can take all those things in consideration, because let's say you've got gangs going through, simply looting places, going into houses. If you can slip out quickly before they come in, they're going to come in, they're going to ransack your place. Hopefully they'll move on to the next place, and then you can come back in and, you know, go through whatever's left. Some conditions you may not be able to. So again, you have to be ready that you may have to leave everything that you have behind and deal with moving on from there. Depending upon your individual personality, you may decide that you'll leave now and then you'll come back, but you're going to bring a party with you, and you're going to have, you know, a good old time, and everyone's going to be dancing, and that's the way it's going to be. But that's something totally different altogether. So that being said, I'll catch you guys later. Like, share, and subscribe. Take it easy.